Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and as mentioned by last week by the balance guru, Aleko Gariko on the Blizzard team, we are expecting a balance patch shipping within about 1 week, and that was posted last, Friday? So we're expecting a balance patch this week, although we have the Heroic Brawl. We'll keep you guys up to date with everything as soon as everything's announced. Maybe they push the Brawl back, maybe they push the nerfs back, I don't know. But what I do know is we like to make predictions, bold predictions on what the possible nerfs and maybe buffs will be. So we're gonna do that today. You guys can share your own predictions in the comments below, and we can see how horribly right or wrong we are maybe in a few days time, who knows. And by the way, friendly shout out, we are on the road to 69,420 subs. We hit that milestone, we're doing a big giveaway, and if you feel like I've earned your sub, please hit that sub button down below. So if you take a look at HS replay across all ranks, again, never the best indicator, but a general overview of the meta, we got 5 classes basically at a 50% win rate or higher. We have 6 below. Of course, Warrior is terrible, but if you're looking at High Legend, it is definitely dominated by Unholy Deathite, Demon Hunter, got a little bit of Miracle Rogue, Paladin, Druid. So let's get into what I think of these decks will get nerfed and maybe what some of these decks might get buffed. So starting off with Unholy Deathite, I believe Battlefield Necromancer will get nerfed. This card got buffed. This used to give tokens that gave 1/2s, and then it was buffed to a 1/3, and even then, like, even Deathite and WoW was like tier 1, and Necromancer was the best card in it. And even Unholy, which wasn't great in Standard, this was the best card in the deck. And this is what happens when you buff the best cards. When they get the support, they become really broken. The mulligan win rate in this card on this card is just ridiculous, and I expect this to go back to a 1/2, but there is that 8-drop that summons taunts that also got the benefit of the buff, and that card's not doing great, so I don't know exactly what they do. But overall, I expect this buff to get reverted, as it's just too much of a snowball mini where you just can't kill the Necromancer. Outside of that though, I don't think you really nerf any Deathlight cards. Blood Decay, like Vampire Blood, whatever. Blood Decay is like 50% win rate. They nerf it because people complain about it on Reddit or whatever. Blight Thing is a card that got buffed that never really needed it. This could go back to a 3/3, but honestly, there's a neutral suggestion I'm gonna make that I think kind of covers the Unholy issue. I only honestly see one Death Knight card getting nerfed. Demon Hunter is a pretty big offender right now. There's 3 archetypes that you could arguably say could justify a nerf. It's like Spell DH, Outcast Demon Hunter, and even the big Demon Hunter can create big, frustrating swing. To me, a card that's abused in all that outside of Outcast is Unleash Fel, with Silver Moon Arcanist basically clears the whole board, Reno Jacksons for an unbelievably dirt cheap cost. I mean, take a look at Tidal Wave. This was a playable Shaman card back in the day. It was 8 mana, and it didn't go face it, it hit your own minions, right? Like, I know it's not a 2-card combo, it's 1 card, but still, I just think this is ridiculously overtuned, and I expect Unleash Fel to go to 2 mana. I could see Lady Asino going to 4 mana. This is one of the cards that's like in all the Demon Hunter decks, and it's just outright broken. I've seen people call for it to not go face, but we've seen with Demon Hunter, they never make that change, but I could really see Lady Asino go to 4. And the other card, I think this is the safest one to call, Sinful Brand will get nerfed. This card just punishes you for playing big minions. It's just really unhealthy gameplay. I don't care what they do. Make it 4 mana, make it deal 1 damage, just kill the card. It's not fun for like anybody. Even when I played it, I played a lot of Spell DH to get to Legend because, well, it's a broken deck, and it felt just stupid killing my opponent with this card. Just kill it, please. Another card you could look at is Fell Scale Evoker. This is the big card that it's got an insane mulligan win rate. You play it, you often win, but they've been trying to make big Demon Hunter a thing since Demon Hunter was put into the game. It's finally a thing. Are they gonna nerf the one thing that makes it work? I don't know. I don't see it quite yet, but you never know. They've done crazier things. Druid right now isn't even that great. At High Legend, it's very polarizing, but this card is just always going to be a problem. In Nubricon, gain 8 armor, your next 3 minions. This turn costs armor instead of mana. It's just problematic. They ever make good battle cries, this card's a problem, and right now it's a problem with Zoc, right? You just gain 1,000,000 armor with your Underkings, and you have unkillable taunts that most classes can't deal with, and you can easily tutor it out, of course, with your Summer Flower Child. I think they just need to hit it. I think they need to admit this card was a mistake. It's already been nerfed once. They need to hit it in a significant way, whether it's your next 2 minions where you only gain, let's say 4, 5, 6, like less armor, just less armor, let's say, than the Under King. You gain 6 armor, so you can't just play the Under King if you have no armor and do that whole thing, right? That's what I would expect to see. Or you make it 9 or 10 mana, but this card just creates such toxic, unfun gameplay patterns that I don't think they're going to sit on it, even though Druid is almost solely reliant on it. And yeah, it might Warrior Druid. Druid might be completely terrible with this, but do you want a class to be propped up by such an unhealthy card? I don't think so, and I do think it will get hit. Paladin only dominates across all ranks, but I just feel like for the health of the ladder, like the ladder's not just about top 1000 legend, the Disco Maul should at least go to 3 mana. You could buff it to a 3/2. I'm fine with that, but just slow it down a touch. I think this card should absolutely be hit 100%. Again, so what? It doesn't dominate a high legend, but again, not everybody plays a high legend. So I feel like a nerf for this would just be a quality of life thing for all players and not just, you know, Mr. Pro player. Undead Priest is one of those that have kind of just been dominant, that if you're going to be scaling everything else back, you kind of got to scale this back too. And I could see Shadow Ascendant losing its buff. This card is just pretty ridiculous in the early game. You could take the Haunting Nightmare buff off of it, plus it's bugged, so that people would stop asking about it. You could revert the Basilisk buff, but honestly, the card that infuriates me the most is Shadow Word Undeath. I'm always like, why does an aggro deck have a 5 mana Old Flame Strike deal 4 damage that goes face and doesn't hit their own stuff? I just like to see it go to 6. I think this card is absurd, and personally, I would just bump it by a mana so that an aggro deck doesn't have a full board clear most of the time on turn 5. For Rogue, I feel like they're not going to nerf the location for the 80th time, and I don't know what else you hit, but Ghoulish Alchemist again. I just think it should say your next concoction this turn costs 0. Like, the fact you can bank this and do those insane pop-off turns, shadow step this, do absurd things. Again, this is the big problem enabler in the Miracle Rogue deck that's, again, mostly only affecting high legend, but I do expect them to make a change to Miracle Rogue, and for me, you either make it your next concoction cost 0 this turn, or you bump this up to a 3 mana 4/3. And then the other nerf I would do for the Unholy Deathlight is Hawkstrider Rancher. It also goes into a bunch of other decks. I just think this at 5 is ridiculous. 5 health. If it was 4, you actually have a chance of killing it on curve, but most classes don't have access to dealing 5 damage on turn 3 without a board, right? Like, it's just not a thing. And I just feel like for a minion that snowballs so much, it going to 4 would just make a lot of sense. And I will mention that I just feel like Vizier should only have a 1 mana discount. Again, another Deathlight style nerf, but it's just like, it's such a ridiculous mana cheat, especially when we get something like the Scourge. I can see it happening. Do I see all my nerf predictions happening here? No, but I made them and they're called predictions. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll be a really, really large balance patch. In regards to buffs, of course, Warrior. What are you going to do with Warrior, though? Almost everything is premium stats. The only things I could think of is like Chorus Rift to 2 mana, but they didn't do that last time, so why would they do that now? But maybe they do that. But I made a tweet about this pretty recently. The only card that has not been unnerfed since the Great Warrior Massacre almost a year ago, last June, every other card has been reverted or buffed in some way, except from the depths. I still don't want to see this card get buffed, but it's the last one on the checklist, so maybe they revert it to 3. I kept suggesting for the longest time that it should be 3 mana, but only 2 mana cheat, and I wanted to see how it would work with that. They never did it, but I feel like Warrior's still bottom of the barrel with like 30 buffs almost at this point. Maybe it's time to try from the depths. I don't want to see like a black rock and roll buff. Like, that would just be silly to put that to 4. And I really like, maybe Brawl to 4, go crazy. Put Brawl at 4 in today's day and age. Why not? I wouldn't even mind that. So we'll see what they do with Warrior. But yeah, From the Depths is probably the biggest one they could do that I could think of. And I think it's time. And for Warlock, again, I'm going to keep saying, I feel like Opera Soloist should deal 4 damage or be 4 mana. This card should be a staple of Control Warlock. and it's not quite there yet. And the last card I guess I'll suggest is just do something with Symphony of Sins. Make it so you can discover any of the movements right out the gate. Like, let me discover any of them that I want, and the card is just so much better. So I feel like they gotta buff this card. It was a card that so many people wanted to see be good. Maybe we could discover all the options. That would be really cool. And then Shaman, I guess Inza, like all the other Overload cards got buffed. Make Inza 4-mana 4/4. I don't know, because Overload Shaman's completely terrible. I feel like they'll try and buff another Overload card because why not? And we'll see if it works. So I guess Inza to a 4-mana 4/4, and every other class is pretty much playable at the moment. I don't think we'd see that many buffs. Maybe they buff some of the neutrals. I mean, you could buff a Cowbell Soloist. This card's terrible. There's so many little neutrals you could buff. Maybe they hit a couple of them just to spice things up, but overall, I think we need a lot more nerfs than buffs, as you can tell, and I really do hope that's what we get with the next patch. So I will keep you guys up to date. I'll let you know as soon as they announce the next balance patch, what's happening. And again, share your predictions in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.